Hi, this is Tony Wu, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use data to decimate your competitors and scale without the guesswork. Because when you have data, you're not running around in circles wondering what will work and what won't work, just like I was doing in my last agency. I never knew how to improve because I kept switching my strategy from this to that. I kept switching it and I never got the chance to gather data to know how to improve, to get the information to know how to improve. And I did the same thing with my clients' campaigns. I tried this, I tried that, I did whatever a guru told me to do, and it never worked, or it worked for a short period of time and then it stopped because I never took the time to gather data. Data is objective information you can learn from, information that you know is 100% true, that cannot be argued. Data is 100% true. There are facts that cannot be argued. And you need to use this data. You need to learn from this data, use this data to constantly improve and to make decisions so you can set a clear direction for growth so you know how to scale and you're not running around in circles like I was with my previous agency. Think of all of the businesses, all of the companies in the hundreds of billions of dollars range, like Google, like Meta. What do they all have in common? They all collect data. They make this platform, the users use it, and they use it to collect data, and then they sell it to advertisers. And especially if you're in the marketing industry, the data is so powerful. There are other businesses out there that will pay outrageous amounts of money for people's data, for people's data who use Meta services or Google. So what makes you think that you have the right to not collect data? You'll be left behind. This is one of the biggest opportunities in your business if you're not currently collecting data. And even if you are collecting data, you need to know how to correctly use data, how to analyze data, and how to turn data into insights. And in this video, I'm going to teach you the two types of data, how to find the 20%, how to learn from the best, how to collect actually good and useful data, and how to turn those data into insights. There are really only two types of data. The first type is quantitative. And this type of data is your numbers, your analytics, the tracking on your customers that you do. And this is what you often think of when you think of data. But equally useful, you have qualitative data. And qualitative data can be demographics, customer demographics, feedback you get from your clients, or the market research that you do. This is qualitative data. And we're going to cover qualitative data first. The first type of qualitative data is demographics. And demographics is so important because 20% of your clients, whether you're an agency, a coach, or a consultant, this works across all industries, across all business models. 20% of your clients will cause you 80% of your problems. They'll cause you to tear your hair out. They'll be a pain to fulfill, and they won't even pay you that much money, right? But also on the flip side, 20% of your clients will also make you 80% of your money. These are the clients, the highest LTV clients. These are the clients that it's easy to fulfill and you actually have a great relationship with them. And what you want to do is you want to make two lists. One is your high churn clients. One of the lists is going to be your high churn clients, the clients that cause you 80% of your problems. And the second list is going to be your high LTV clients, the clients that stayed with you the longest and the clients that you have a great relationship with. And what you want to do is you want to look at the demographics. You have to look at what they have in common, what your high churn clients have in common, and what your high LTV clients have in common. Is it what niche they're in? Is it how much they make per month? Is it whether or not they have a social media presence, or have they engaged with your past content in the past, or have they opted in to your lead magnet, things like that. And for your high churn clients, you want to try and not target them. So when you're doing prospecting for cold outreach, if you see these demographics, if you see these signs, you know that these clients probably wouldn't give you the best time, so you stay away from them. Or when they're booking a call, you can make them answer a couple questions, and then before you hop on a call with them, you can review their answers and decide if they'd be a good fit for you or not. And the same thing goes with your high LTV clients. When you're prospecting for cold outreach, these are the demographics that you should look for. Or when you're making content, these are the people that you should try to target towards, that you should try to talk to. And when you're trying to analyze your ideal customer, that is the ideal customer you want to analyze. And maybe even you try to hop on a call with some of your clients and ask for feedback. And maybe you think that what they'll be annoyed, they don't want to answer your questions, but in reality, they'll actually be really happy that you care enough to try and tailor their experience, to try and always improve. They'll be impressed with your service. Or you can also ask for feedback to tailor your services, your products specifically to them, and you can do that through forms. Like you can send them emails in a form and then ask them to fill it out. And they won't be annoyed, they'll actually be impressed that you care enough to ask them that you're constantly looking to improve. You want to not only learn from your customers, but you also want to learn from your competitors. And that could look like there's two types of competitors mainly. The first type are direct competitors, which are businesses that are doing something really similar to you, offering a very similar service to a very similar market. And then you have indirect competitors, which might be in the same industry as you, might have the same business model as you, but maybe they're offering a slightly different service or they're doing a slightly different business. So for example, if you're running a marketing agency, some direct competitors to you would be other marketing agencies, like maybe one's run by Charlie Morgan, one's run by Ravi Abuvala or Serge Guattari, and you want to learn from them, right? But you also want to learn from your indirect competitors, which would be something like McKinsey. And yeah, I should probably update this image for you. I mean, this drawing for you. Qualitative data, you have demographics of your high churn clients and your high LTV clients. And you also have data about your competitors, both direct and indirect competitors, right? Let's take a look at your direct competitors, for example. When I was starting my own agency, I analyzed other successful agencies, like agency owners like Charlie Morgan, Serge Guattari, Ravi Abuvala, and I noticed three things that they have in common with each other, which is number one, that they focus on solving high value problems. Number two, that they sell systems instead of selling time. And number three, that they all make content, right? And I learned from these and I implemented them into my own agency as well. You can learn from what they're doing right, but you also have to learn from what they're doing wrong. Because if you only copy what they're doing right, you will never be better than them. And you always want to be better than your competitors, even if it seems out of reach, right? There's always things that they're doing wrong. They're not perfect. You need to break what they're doing down into its fundamental first principles and find what they're doing that doesn't make sense, and then you need to fix it. And I went into first principles really deeply in another video if you want to watch that. But let me just give you an example here. While I was running my first agency and I was analyzing my competitors, all the other agencies that helped home improvement businesses, I saw that they were all doing retainer model. They were all doing a retainer model. And then when you broke that down into its first principles, it didn't really make sense because everybody was doing a lot of work. For example, you hired an agency and they do a lot of work the first month. Maybe they set up the ad campaigns, maybe they write the emails, maybe they build landing pages, and then the next month the work they do does drop off dramatically because they're already done with all the campaigns, they're already done with building the websites, optimizing the websites, and now they're just doing a little split tests here and there, and they're doing little tweaks. And now the business owner, the home improvement business, is left paying for a whole lot of nothing. The value that they got just went down dramatically in the first month. So the agency will have a crazy high churn rate because their clients will cancel. And they end up canceling very quickly, like 2 months, 3 months, they cancel. And this is a big problem that they had. So what we realized is that having this retainer model didn't really make sense because it incentivized the agency to do things slowly and to try to lock the business owner into a long and rigid contract, maybe like 3 months, 6 month contract. And we know that speed is valuable, and business owners want speed because speed is time, and time is the most valuable resource that you have. So we decided to try and do it a lot quicker than all of these other agencies, which is we guaranteed to implement our system for them in under 30 days. And this is a lot faster, which makes our product, more valuable. And now that our time is no longer connected to how much we get paid, then now we can start using leverage. Now we can find ways to speed it up using systems, right? And so now maybe we finish in, let's say, a week, and we can get paid $10,000 for a week. Or maybe we finish in a month and then we get paid $10,000 in a month. It all depends on how fast we can do the work. And we were actually able to make more than the other agencies per client because we provided more value, so we could charge more. And all of these other agencies, they were charging maybe $1,000, $2,000 a month, and then they had really high churn rates. So after 2 months, maybe 3 months, maybe even worse than that, their clients would leave. So that's an example of how we looked at the market, we looked at our competitors, and we saw what they're doing, and we found out what they're doing doesn't make sense, and then we created a solution to fix that to become better than them. And we also carried that over into our current agency, which is we help other agency owners implement the same decision-making process, the same systems, the same infrastructures to help them grow as well. And another thing we noticed is that all of these other agencies were only doing done for you services, right? Because I think they were afraid that if they taught their clients how to do it, their clients would have no longer have any need for them. But what we realized is that clients don't like to be dependent on outside people, on agencies. And that's what we also realized, that giving a man a fish is not nearly as valuable as teaching a man how to fish. So instead of making them reliant on us, we also taught them the exact decision-making process, how to implement, how to improve, how to constantly optimize the frameworks that we'll put in place for them. So we do a one-time fee and we teach them how to constantly improve it and how to make decisions that actually get them results so that they never need another agency ever again. So from analyzing our competitors, we can learn from what works, but we can also learn from what doesn't work, like how I noticed that everybody was doing a retainer model and that they were only doing done for you, which didn't make sense. And then we fixed that problem, and now we have a competitive advantage. That was just learning from your direct competitors. You also have to learn from your indirect competitors. And in this case, I learned a lot from McKinsey, the consulting firm. And the main point that I took away is that they only focus on extremely high value problems. The cheapest service that you can get with them there is $500,000. Think about that. That is 4 years of being with a client for a normal agency. And that is the cheapest service that McKinsey offers. And them having this massive pricing advantage, they can charge so much more because they can deliver so much more value, and they have so much more profit margins that they can reinvest into making their thing more and more and more valuable, creating a bigger and bigger gap with them and the market. That is how McKinsey scaled to a $244 million valuation as a service-based business. And now we move on to quantitative data. There are two steps really when it comes to using quantitative data. The first one is that you need to make sure you're getting good data. Is the data you're getting actually relevant to the goals you have? And is this data actually accurate? And the next thing you need to do, step number 2, is you need to actually turn this data into insights. Because data on its own, data is just numbers. Quantitative data is just a couple of numbers. And numbers, you can't really have a use for them until you turn them into insights. You need to actually analyze them and analyze them correctly so you don't skew the data. Analyze this data so you can set a direction for growth so you can make business decisions. The first thing you need to do is to make sure that you have data on relevant metrics. And to do that, you first need to have a goal. You need to have a question that you want to answer with this data. Maybe that question is, which one of my YouTube videos are performing the best? And you need to break that down. Say, what do I mean by performing the best? Well, does that mean getting the most views? Or does that mean getting me the most leads, getting me the most clients, making me the most money, right? So you need to identify what you actually want from this data. And for example, if you wanted to see which one of these videos were getting you the most money, getting you the most leads, then you don't want to put too much weight on these vanity metrics, which is like subscribers gained, views. It doesn't tell the whole story, and that's why you have to look at these data points in relation to each other. So you need to look at the views alongside how many actually click the link to go through your funnel and how the traffic from that specific video converted compared to maybe some of the other videos. Did it convert better or did it convert worse than the other videos? And then once you know how well it converts compared to the other videos, and then you can see how many views it gets. So the key takeaway here is that one data point by itself is useless. It doesn't tell you anything. You need to look at all of the data points in relation to each other, and then you need to compare that with, because you're doing content, we're doing the example where you want to see which one of your videos performs the best. So you want to analyze all of the data points in relation to each other, and then you want to analyze all of the data points of another video in relation to each other, and then compare those. Now that you have this data, you want to find similarities between what works and what doesn't work, and then you want to run split tests, make hypotheses using first principles thinking, which I covered in another video, and then you want to do split tests. And a big mistake that I made previously doing split tests is that I was just all over the place. For example, when I was split testing my outreach in my previous agency, I used to do maybe an email script, and then I changed the script completely, a completely different DM script, so I don't know what the change in the conversions were due to. Was it due to changing from emails to DMs, or was it changing the hook from this to that, or was it changing the body from this to that, or was it changing the call to action from this to that? I changed so many things at once that I didn't know what was actually making the difference. So you need to change one thing at a time. And the other mistake I made is that the sample sizes that I used were way too small. I did like 50 outreaches, and then I thought, wait, this isn't working, and then I'll watch a couple YouTube videos, and I switched to something else, this new strategy that everybody else was telling me to do. I didn't really think for myself, you know? And to make sure that you actually have a good sample size, a good amount of data, what you want to do is you can just go on Google and search statistical significance calculator, and that'll pull up a calculator you can use to analyze to see how many data points do you need to prove that you are getting a significant result. Now you have data. Now you have good data. But data is still just numbers. You need to analyze it to turn these numbers into insights to help you make decisions, to help you scale your business. The first thing we need to identify are the North Star metrics, which are the key performance indicators that will get us to our goal. And going back to the example of what type of content works the best, then it will probably be the click-through rate of the link that links to your funnel, right? And it will probably also be the conversion rate or the opt-in rate of the traffic that goes through that funnel. Now you collect that data and then you compare it with the data from other videos, and then now you have to visualize it. You have to find patterns within the data. And I find that AI is actually a really good tool for this because sometimes I see people use AI for the wrong things all the time, right? Maybe they use AI to do writing, and writing is a creative task, and you don't want to use AI for creative tasks because that is not its strong suit. But what I find is that AI is actually really good at pattern recognition, at extracting patterns from data. So there's a really good tool I use called Julius AI. You can maybe check that out by searching it up. Now you want to uncover the drivers of these patterns. You want to find the relationship between these patterns. And what that means is that you look at the similarities between the content that performs well and the content that doesn't perform well. And using this, you can make hypotheses. You hypothesize what are the similarities, what drives this content to perform well and what drives the other content to not perform well. And once you make these hypotheses, this is when you can test again, do split tests, and then look at that data and see if it confirms or denies your hypotheses. And that is basically how you use data to gather insights. And I do plan on making a data analyzation framework, and that'll be in the description. But for now, if you focus on the top 20% of your clients, if you learn from your competitors, if you collect good data and then turn that data into insights, I promise you, you will be able to decimate your competitors and scale without the guesswork.